Asian markets are painting a troubling picture of Trump's trade strategy, and the message couldn't be clearer. While traders position themselves for an anticipated Federal Reserve rate cut this week, the real story unfolding is how Trump's aggressive tariff approach has backfired spectacularly, with China demonstrating strategic patience and calculated responses that expose the fundamental flaws in his economic vision. Markets across Hong Kong, Singapore, and Jakarta posted gains in early Monday trading, while Seoul reached another record high. Yet beneath these surface movements lies a deeper truth about Trump's trade policies producing the opposite results from what American voters were promised. Shanghai's modest decline following fresh economic data revealing retail sales and industrial production missing forecasts tells a more complex story than Trump's simplistic narrative suggests. This economic weakness in China doesn't represent victory for Trump's strategy. Rather, it demonstrates how his tariff war has destabilized global supply chains and created unpredictability that hurts American businesses and workers. The Chinese economy's current challenges directly contradict Trump's assertion that tariffs would bring swift capitulation and massive wins for American manufacturing. What we're witnessing instead is a Chinese economy adapting to new realities while maintaining strategic composure. Trump's Sunday statement expecting a substantial rate cut from the Federal Reserve reveals his fundamental misunderstanding of monetary policy. He positions himself as the conductor of economic prosperity, yet the Federal Reserve's anticipated rate reduction represents emergency intervention necessitated by the uncertainty his policies have created. The much-anticipated Fed meeting will likely see borrowing costs reduced by 25 basis points, with some analysts suggesting the possibility of 50 points. This isn't evidence of economic strength under Trump's leadership. It's clear acknowledgement that his trade policies have generated instability requiring monetary policy intervention to prevent deeper economic damage. Chris Weston from Pepperstone noted that markets would be surprised by anything other than a 25 basis point reduction, even if several Fed governors advocate for more aggressive action. The focus will shift immediately to the policy board's statement tone and Powell's press conference guidance. These rate cuts essentially represent the Federal Reserve attempting to mitigate economic disruption caused by Trump's erratic trade policies. Central banks in Canada, Britain, and Japan are also convening this week, each grappling with ripple effects from Trump's destabilizing trade approach. After Friday's tepid Wall Street performance that saw the Nasdaq edge to a new peak, Asian markets continue fluctuating, reflecting uncertainty Trump has injected into global trade relationships. Trump's strategy faces particular embarrassment with South Korea's recent decision to abandon plans for lowering capital gains, tax thresholds for stock investors, propelling Seoul's market to unprecedented heights. This move directly contradicts Trump's narrative about forcing other countries to make desperate concessions.
Talks which are happening today are pretty crucial. This is not an official round of negotiations as India is describing it, but yes, these are the first in-person talks after the 50% tariffs had kicked in on India in the month of August. So Assistant US Trade Representative Mr. Brendan Lynch has already arrived in India. We believe it's going to be a day-long visit today. He will be meeting the Special Secretary in Commerce Ministry, Mr. Rajesh Agrawal. Mr. Lynch and Mr. Agrawal both are the chief negotiators for either side for this bilateral trade deal which has been in the works for the last few months. And Mr. Lynch, interestingly, has been in the Indian subcontinent for the last few days. He was in Sri Lanka a few days back where he met President Dissanayake. Then he went to Bangladesh to meet the interim leader there, Mohammad Yunus. And today, Mr. Lynch has arrived from Dhaka into Delhi. And this is not, as I said, not an official round of negotiations for the bilateral trade agreement, but...
Instead, South Korea strengthens its market position while Trump's policies generate instability elsewhere. Australia provides another revealing example, with ANZ Bank agreeing to pay a record $240 million fine for widespread misconduct. While seemingly unrelated to trade policy, this reflects broader erosion of trust in financial systems amid Trump's chaotic approach to international economic relations. Trump's team desperately attempts to frame ongoing discussions between China and the United States in Madrid as diplomatic progress. These trade talks, eyeing a November deadline for their tariff pause, represent acknowledgement that his original strategy failed so completely, both sides need face-saving exits from the impasse he created. The framework agreement announcement reveals desperation for any perceived win, even as the underlying issues remain unresolved and creating chaos in international trade negotiations.
We have a framework for a TikTok deal. The two leaders, President Trump and Party Chair Xi, will speak on Friday to complete the deal, but we do have a framework for a deal with TikTok.
U.S.-China negotiations tend to go on for months and years without results, but I have to say, too, that President Trump played a role in this. We had a call with him last night. We had specific guidance from him. We shared it with our Chinese counterparts, and without his leadership and the leverage he provides, we would not have been able to conclude.
Chinese Vice Premier He Lifeng's delegation will also address the TikTok dispute with American representatives, led by Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. That TikTok has become a bargaining chip in trade negotiations exposes the confused, scattershot nature of Trump's approach. Using a social media platform as leverage in complex economic discussions demonstrates profound unseriousness about addressing real economic challenges. These negotiations follow China's Saturday launch of 2 investigations into America's semiconductor sector. This represents China's calculated response to Trump's aggression, targeting specific American industries with precision rather than broad retaliation. China's semiconductor investigations aren't random. They're strategic strikes at America's technological advantages, while Trump focuses on Twitter pronouncements and photo opportunities with world leaders.
What do you hope to achieve? Well, my relationship is very good with the UK, and Charles, as you know, who's now king, is my friend. And it's the first time this has ever happened where somebody was honored twice, so it's a great honor. And this was at Windsor. They've never used Windsor Castle for this before. They used Buckingham Palace. And I don't want to say one's better than the other, but they say Windsor Castle is the ultimate, right? So it's going to be nice. But basically, I'm there also on trade. They want to see if they can refine the trade deal a little bit. We made a deal, and it's a great deal. And I'm into helping them. Our country is doing very well. We've never done this well. We're having trillions of dollars coming because of the tariff. And they'd like to see if they could get a little bit better deal. So we'll talk to them. But primarily it's to be with Prince Charles and Camilla. They're friends of mine for a long time, long before he was king. And it's an honor to have him as king. And, you know, I think he represents the country so well. I've watched. He's such an elegant gentleman, and he represents the country so well.
China's systematic approach to reducing dependence on American technology while building domestic capabilities stands in stark contrast to Trump's impulsive policymaking. Ironically, Trump's tariff strategy accelerates China's push for technological self-reliance, achieving the opposite of maintaining American technological dominance. The Asian market volatility reflects more than normal trading patterns. Its direct response to uncertainty and instability Trump has created through unpredictable trade policies. Regional investors navigate an environment where American economic policy shifts based on Trump's momentary impulses rather than coherent long-term strategy. Tokyo's market closure for a holiday symbolizes how global financial centers need respite from Trump-induced chaos. When major markets require breaks from volatility, it signals American leadership has become a destabilizing force rather than providing economic stability. The impending Fed rate cut doesn't validate Trump's economic policies. It's emergency response to damage those policies inflicted. The Federal Reserve acts as economic firefighter containing blazes Trump's trade war ignited. Rate cuts admit the economy needs artificial stimulation to overcome obstacles Trump's policies created. Trump's supporters will spin any positive market reaction as validation, but markets respond to Fed intervention, not Trump's trade policies. The rate cut represents the Federal Reserve counteracting negative effects of Trump's tariff strategy, providing stability to an economy whipsawed by his unpredictable decision-making. Broader implications of Trump's failing trade strategy extend beyond immediate market movements. By alienating traditional allies and engaging in tit-for-tat escalation with China, Trump has weakened America's position in global economic negotiations, making future coalition building for effective economic diplomacy more difficult. China's measured responses to Trump's aggressive tactics demonstrate strategic thinking completely absent from the American approach. While Trump lashes out with broad tariffs and inflammatory rhetoric, China carefully targets specific American industries with surgical precision. This isn't just about trade, it's about long-term economic and technological competition, where China plays a more sophisticated game. The TikTok dispute perfectly illustrates how Trump's scattershot approach undermines American interests. Instead of addressing legitimate national security concerns through thoughtful policy and international cooperation, Trump has turned TikTok into a political football complicating serious trade negotiations. This impulse-driven policymaking makes maintaining credible positions in complex international discussions impossible for American negotiators. Trump's claims about stopping drug trafficking provide another example of victory laps that ring hollow.
But we have noticed that there are no ships in the ocean anymore. We're seeing that there's like no ships, when the first one we went, there were hundreds of boats. Now there are no boats. I wonder why. Meaning no drugs are coming across, probably stopping some fishermen too. This was a boat and we were surprised to see it. Now, what does that mean? That means there's no drugs coming by sea, but they do come by land. And you know what? We're telling the cartels right now, we're going to be stopping them too. When they come by land, we're going to be stopping them the same way we stop the boats.
While he boasts about maritime interdictions, the fundamental drug crisis continues unabated, with cartels simply adjusting their methods. This pattern of declaring victory while problems persist characterizes his entire approach to complex policy challenges. As Asian markets continue fluctuating and the Fed prepares emergency rate cuts, evidence overwhelmingly shows Trump's trade strategy has spectacularly failed. Rather than bringing China to heel and securing better deals for American workers, his policies created economic uncertainty, damaged international relationships, and forced the Federal Reserve into reactive mode. The promise was American economic dominance through strength and negotiation. The reality is global economic instability, weakened American credibility, and a Chinese government more determined than ever to reduce dependence on American economic leadership. Trump's trade war isn't just failing, it's actively making America weaker and less influential on the global stage, with each aggressive move producing strategic responses that further erode American economic advantages.